All right, this is going to be a look at some of the questionable or really impactful and important penalties that were called in the Ravens game that we as fans, some of them we recognize were questionable at best. The one of them that was egregious, besides the roughing the passer call, which is awful, is the offensive pass interference call on Mark Andrews. That really gives the Ravens the opportunity to go up 21-3 early mid second quarter, I believe, if I have my timing right, early second quarter. But having said all that, I'm going to spin this a little bit and show you two situations where, despite the turnovers, the Ravens had opportunities to make plays and either put the game away or prevent the Bills from doing so themselves. So is it a little bit of a gripe session about some of the penalties and situations? I mean, yeah, it is. But I think it's impossible to look at least three of these and not have a skeptical eye toward the penalty, the numbers that were called on one team, and the timing of them. Because I do not remember penalties impacting this game at all until such time that Mark Andrews is laying on the 1 yard line after beating Taron Johnson with the slightest of touch between two grown men who are competing with shoulder pads and helmets on that didn't even really move Taron Johnson's body posture. And maybe I'm wrong on that. We'll see here in a minute as we check out the film. All right, this first one is going to be the non-call to Demarcus Robinson. It's a 3rd and 5, I believe. Late second quarter. After this, we have to punt, and the Bills are able to take possession and then go down and score to get within 20-10. Not even really going to mention the really horrible spot that Lamar got on a scramble. But I will say this to you. On a scramble earlier, maybe 2 minutes earlier gameplay, Lamar had done the same thing. And what I mean is not make it obvious that he was past the first down. Do I think he was past the first down? Yes, I do. Did he look like he didn't finish the play to me and make it clear and obvious to the refs that he got the first down? Yes, and I think he did it twice. Am I blaming him? No. This is egregious. This ball hasn't gotten to Demarcus Robinson yet. You're going to see in a minute from the end zone angle, Demarcus Robinson's body posture is completely impacted by the DB, Poyer, who played a great game. You can see that as the ball is crossing Edmonds, and Edmonds' right foot is on the 31. Demarcus Robinson's on the 35. So you're talking about between 3.5, 4 yards before the ball is even there. This is egregious. This is terrible. If this was the only bad call in this game, you could complain about it. I mean, really, you could. Are the Bills a good team? Yeah, they're very good. They don't need help. I mean, they don't need help. They don't need help to win a lot of games. They had won some long number of regular season games by more than 10 points apparently before this one. And I guess there's a section of Bills fans that think, if it wasn't a rainy day and we didn't have so many injuries, we'd have won this one by more than 10 points too. I mean, I don't know, man. It's kind of hard to evaluate two teams on a rainy day when both teams are dealing with injuries. Like, you going to come on a Ravens channel and talk to Ravens fans about injuries? Like, get out of here, man. You really have no awareness of anything outside of Buffalo. This is a pass interference call. There's no question about it. There's no explanation that makes any sense for it not to be called. Demarcus Robinson is right. You can't, but just so you guys know, and sounds like some people do not, you don't just blame the head ref, the white hat. Like, there's other guys that are responsible for calling that. It's the white hat's job to gather the referees sometimes and determine things, but there's multiple referees who have the opportunity to make this call. Okay, you have multiple refs with triangulated vision and the ability to call these things depending on, their vantage point. Because sometimes one angle looks better than the other. This one, it don't matter what angle you look at. This is pass interference. End zone angle, same play, 3rd and 5. From here, it doesn't look so bad until you pull this back a little bit. You look right here. As this ball gets past Edmonds, again, Edmonds' right foot is on the 31. And Demarcus Robinson's foot is gearing a touchdown on the 35. Watch this. Demarcus Robinson's body posture is oriented towards the football. His head, his hands are oriented towards the football. Before the football can get there, his body posture is knocked down. I mean, like, it doesn't get any clearer than that. There's no reason for Demarcus Robinson to be looking at the ground before the ball gets there. Just so you know, that ball has not passed them yet. You saw the all 20. You saw the all 22 angle for a moment. So you could confirm it for yourself. Only the most biased people would not recognize that. Okay, this one was earlier in that second quarter. The most slight, gentle touch between a tight end and a strong safety or nickel safety that you could really ever call. It happens right here on about the 6-yard line. My video player's messing up a little bit. I'm going to have to let it run a couple times like this so you guys can see it. Right there on about the 5 or the 6-yard line. That's like when you come home drunk and you just barely plant your hand on the wall as you walk up your steps to balance yourself. You might actually probably are leaning more on the wall in that situation than Mark Andrews is leaning on Taron Johnson here. Taron Johnson don't need help. He's a great cover guy. He's a great player, all-around football player. This one right here, terrible. Ravens sitting there, first and goal from the 1, which has been the bane of our existence in 2022. But opportunity to go up 21-3. Late flag comes out. Poor call. That's bad. End zone angle, same play. And then I'm going to reel us back in a little bit in terms of complaining. And great throw by Lamar, by the way. Sticking that around Edmonds, but then in front of this safety here, who makes contact, supposedly preventing Andrews from getting in the end zone. But look, 2 plays earlier, Lamar had an opportunity for a touchdown. Now, Andrews is a little slow here coming out of this break, but this ball's overthrown. This is a clear overthrow. This ball is probably overthrown by 2 yards, maybe 3. This was 2 plays before the no call or non-call on which should not have been called, the offensive pass interference. And it's a cool route. Like, how do you beat 2 high safeties? Well, Duvernay runs here to occupy this safety. And then Andrews, who was lined up inside, is going to go like just your classic out and up. He's a little slow on his plant and go. But at times you think that the guy's going to be in a different place. To me, that ball is overthrown by 2 yards, maybe 3. We hit that. We're not worried about the offensive pass interference call. So we had opportunities to make the plays ourselves for real. And we just didn't do it. All right, another one that's interesting, but, this, to me, I'm a defensive guy and I want this called. But just so you know, at the college level, there's been meetings every single year of the rules committee where they're constantly talking about, how far downfield should we call this? Is Daniel Falele downfield? Yes, he is. Is this called all the time? No, it's not. And Mark Andrews is catching the ball behind the line of scrimmage. Now, I'm going to compare this here in a moment to the non-call on the Bills' first touchdown. I want you to pay attention to where the guy catches the football. By my view right now, the ball is on the 25. I call it the negative 25. It's your own 25-yard line. Mark Andrews catches that ball. His left foot is behind there. To me, based on this angle, it looks like the ball is behind there. I might be wrong. So I don't know what the rules say about you being downfield when the ball's caught behind the line of scrimmage. But the way that I understand them, I thought that you were allowed to run screens in the NFL in 2022. Now, Falele is clearly not blocking for Mark Andrews. That's a RPO, which is a different style play. So now let's compare it to this one. Line of scrimmage, we don't get the blue line, right? But the line of scrimmage to me looks like just outside the 4. So a little bit in front of Knox's foot, all right? Ball's caught in front of the line of scrimmage, if you ask me, and you have clear blocking downfield on Knox. It's not even a question. I mean, this is a designed rub. Like, that is not how you teach this. This is not how Knox is taught to do this. You're taught to run a route and make it look like you're running a route. You're taught to get to the defender's outside shoulder, make it look like, you're not going to run past him. You're going to kind of hesitate in this area here to like muddy up that area so that the defender can't climb over the top or underneath. You're not taught. I mean, I've coached in spread systems. You're not taught to block the guy downfield. This is a penalty because it's not the way he's taught to do it, number one. Number two, it is actually against the rules as they are defined. Offensive players are allowed to block 1 yard downfield on a ball caught at the line of scrimmage. All right, this one's just as bad. I mean, Josh Allen's a big guy, and he's very difficult to tackle until he gets hit by a 195-pound DB. That's a flop. Like that's there is now the only thing with it though is, let me correct this a little bit. You do have, and I don't see it on this angle, but you do have a lineman being pushed back into him. So it's also possible that he steps on one side or the other of that offensive lineman's legs, or even on his leg, and then that's possibly what caused him to fall in this exaggerated manner. So I'm saying it looks like a flop to me, but I'm also saying that it appears as if he probably could have run into that lineman's leg, but certainly there was no contact to the head or the face mask. And that was the explanation that Boger gave after the game to the media. Having said that, though, look, we had an opportunity to stop him earlier. This is a 3rd and 2, and this is poor eye discipline by Chuck Clark. That's just what this is. This is man. Now I'll tell you where he's not going with the football. He's not going right here, because nobody is throwing at Marlon Humphrey right now. I can't wait till the Bengals game to see how they challenge him, because the Bengals will challenge him. They will. They will challenge him. They're not scared. Now, the only thing that worries me about this appears to be a pattern read by Peters, where he's getting this in by the number 1, which is Diggs. And so he's trying to carry this. Also, Chuck Clark, as he's getting depth, his eyes are in the backfield. Chuck Clark is beat, all right? Regardless of what Marcus Peters is supposed to do. Chuck Clark is beat. Why? His eyes are here. Now, so someone made a mistake. Again, is it Marcus Peters? Maybe. But we have 3 over 2. So what I mean by that is, let's look at a route combination. All right? It's a basic route. Like, teach covering this to 10-year-olds. Like number 1, runs it in. Number 2, runs like a little corner. We would call it a smash in. You have a number 3 defender. You have a number 2 defender. You have a number 1 defender. If you read the corner, so the corner is Peters, and you throw in the smash here, all right, fine. You're throwing it over the top because the corner's with Diggs, but we're switching it. You can let number 1 go in to the linebacker, and then Clark get over the top and Peters get over the top. You can do that. There's no reason why you can't do that. That's actually a very fundamental way to do it, especially when you're dealing with a guy like Diggs with his speed, where your corner might need to be off anyway. Okay, so in this case, Peters is up on him, being physical, but I'm saying when you have a guy at that speed level, you may want to be off anyway, which helps your corner, get back here and give that off read to the quarterback already, allowing your linebacker to play, the in-breaking route. Well, as long as your linebacker isn't staring at the freaking quarterback the whole time, all right, which ours does. It's either a poor job by Chuck Clark, or it's Marcus Peters not playing the read the way he's supposed to. It looks like he's trying to communicate to Chuck, and Chuck's eyes are in the backfield. So we definitely playing man down here. Up here, it looked like man pre-snap, but then it's also possible that we're, switching this off, and Peters is trying to play this corner. In any case, either Chuck or Peters is beat by that route from the tight end. Pretty poor read if that is the case. And I still suspect that Chuck's inconsistent eye discipline plays a role there. So as Ravens fans, we can complain about the penalties, no problem. Go right ahead. Having said all that, we're we're also doing things that prevented us from winning the game. So the blame goes both ways. The blame goes both ways. There's that 3rd and 5 again, where you see some contact. Look, you guys, let me know what you think of the penalties. Did it decide the game? No. Did it shade the game? Absolutely. That's what bad refs can do. They can shade a game. They can make a game that is 60% red suddenly only be 48% red. And that's what that first call did. When I say the first one, I mean the one that kicked this all off, which was the offensive pass interference call on Andrews. That's egregious. That's terrible. That one that I just showed you for the second time was also terrible. You're talking about at least 3 really terrible calls, and then a 4th one that's borderline terrible. So if it's not shading, which I would suspect and hope that it's not, it's just poor officiating. Hey, guess what? If you've been to a lot of football games across the United States of America in the past 20 years, officiating sucks. Those guys don't get paid enough, number one. They get verbally mistreated, number 2, by coaches, fans, players. And some of them ref 3, 4, 5 games in a day on Saturday after doing a high school game on a Friday night. Or you have guys who do a high school game on a Thursday night, a Friday night, and a college game on a Saturday. I know one guy who does NFL games part-time as a sub, and he has to do like high school games Thursday, Friday, sometimes a college game on a Saturday, and then he'll be in the stadium at the NFL games as like a contingency plan if somebody goes down as a referee. I think he's done 6 games, something like that, and he's traveled to like 20. So my point is, guys, the referees are bad. You have a very small available pool of refs to choose from. And the guys that are at the NFL are supposed to be the best. Get in your car one night and go watch a high school game. Go watch a youth football game. Something like that. And take a look at the level of refereeing. So this doesn't surprise me. Like, for real, I'm not surprised by this. As a Ravens fan, am I trying to say we were robbed? No. We were definitely impacted by it, for real. But we had 2 opportunities, like I showed you in this video. The missed touchdown to Andrews, a really poor overthrow by Lamar. And then the 3rd and 2 where Peters, Humphrey, and Queen is 3 over 2. And we can't figure out a way to get that coverage right based on a release by Diggs. So I blame us. I do. I don't think that, the refs deserve all of the blame. I think our decisions, our missed assignments, our lack of finish is what did us in. You guys, let me know what you think of this film breakdown. It's very weird, obviously, for me to be talking about penalties, but I thought it was noteworthy because of how many bad ones there were in this game and how infrequently the Ravens have been penalized their first 3 games and for pretty much the entire first quarter, right? Let me know what you guys think of the video in the comments section if you enjoyed it or not.